Hey YouTube, my name is Eve the Weed. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm looking at, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Joe Budden beef with Charlamagne, okay? And this goes further back than what people realize. I don't know if y'all do realize it, but Joe was part of Complex and the whole everyday struggle with DJ Academics. And Charlamagne the God just said on one of the podcasts that I'm looking at the Joe Budden podcast, episode 113, podcast beef. Now, Charlamagne the God is on Joe Budden's podcast. He's promoting his book, Black Privilege. This episode aired 3 years ago on YouTube. Joe Budden's is almost into his 400s now with the episodes. He came a long way. But what I'm about to say is, people don't realize how deep this beef go. And I'm a ask this question because I noticed that a lot of things was going on YouTube last night. Star from the Star Report. I love Star. He was talking about how he think that he asked a real simple question last night, and it said, "Do you think Charlamagne the God took down Joe Budden? Like take down his whole career?" Let me just tell you this: this whole beef on some low key shit, on some real underhanded shit. If you think back and you look and you go back to old episodes like I'm doing, this been going on for a minute. And I feel like Charlamagne the God is jealous of Joe Budden. Reason: Joe Budden was part of Everyday Struggle with Academics and the whole thing, and how he's on this podcast right here, the 113 one that I'm looking at, and he's talking about how he was a mentor to Academics. Well, he had Academics on his Brilliant Genius podcast with that boy that nobody likes, Andrew. And I find it strange that Andrew, the white boy that's on Brilliant Geniuses with Charlamagne the God, this is not the first time he talked shit about Joe Budden's. This is not it. This is not the first time. For him to try to sit up there and try to clown Joe Budden's, because I heard this from a reliable source that Joe Budden's won $250,000. If Joe do want $250,000 for his fucking podcast, why the fuck is it so stupid? Why is it so stupid? Let's just be motherfucking clear. You and Brilliant Geniuses over there, I ain't never seen y'all with the #1 podcast. I'm not even trying to be fucking funny. I'm just speaking facts. And now that I look at Brilliant Geniuses today, and I looked at the episode from last night, I was looking at little clips of the episode from last night. I really couldn't fucking stomach it, so I really wasn't feeling it like that. So I really didn't watch the whole thing. But the vibe of the Brilliant Genius podcast, let me tell y'all something. Charlamagne wants Joe Budden's vibe so motherfucking bad it's disgusting. Y'all not getting it until y'all go over there and look at all these podcasts that I'm talking about. Go look at Brilliant Geniuses. Go look at Joe Budden's up-to-date podcast. And then go pull up one from in the hundreds like I just did today. Charlamagne the God wanted to be in the spaces when it come to podcasting. He wanted to be Joe Budden so bad. You can't tell me he ain't have nothing to do with the whole bringing down the Joe Buddens. For a person that says, "Oh, Joe Buddens is my friend and I don't have no beef with Joe Buddens," you talk about him a lot lately. A lot. Now, the other day, on one of the episodes, the up-to-date episodes of the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Budden said he ain't have no problem with Charlamagne the God. Now that he probably sit back and he look, and if he analyzing the way I'm doing, he should have been had beef for Charlamagne the God. Charlamagne the God been trying to fucking ruin Joe Budden on some low-key shit. He tried to ruin it through the podcasting beef behind the scenes, but that shit didn't work. So when the whole Spotify deal came up, it was like, bing. And the whole Tahiri coming out and telling her fucking whole story, bing. It was just right on time, if you think about it. Everything was right on time like motherfucking clockwork. Everything was right on fucking time. Now, like I said, the podcast that I'm looking at is from 3 years ago. People say, oh, Eve, a lot of things change in 3 years. But if you go back to this episode of 113 of Joe Budden Podcast, shit didn't change. Shit just got worse. If y'all not on this podcast wave and y'all not on it, I like to look at the podcasts when they come to YouTube. Reason being, because I like to see body language. And for Joe Buttons to sit up there and tell Charlamagne the God, I feel some smoke coming. It was in a playful mode, but for Joe Buttons to keep saying, I see what y'all niggas is trying to do. I see what y'all niggas is trying to do. I believe, in my heart of hearts, Joe Buttons always knew that Charlamagne the God was coming for him. Joe Buttons is a conspiracy theorist. He always says that. All the time. If you watch his podcasts, this is not Joe Budden's only podcast. He has a whole nother podcast where he interviews celebrities by himself on his couch. He be chilling, and Charlamagne the God was up there too. See, Charlamagne the God is not slick. I feel like Charlamagne the God befriended Joe to see what the fuck was going on inside of his little thing and what the fuck he got going on, and see how his world functions. Because you can sit up there and say you know how a man operates by looking at it, but if you get close to him and befriend him, you know how shit operate. If you get into those same spaces, if you enter in those same conversations, and nobody cannot tell me, and I don't want to hear, oh well, Charlamagne is on the #1 Breakfast Club, in the world. Yeah. But then why, if that's the case, and y'all feel like Charlamagne the God does not have nothing to be jealous when it comes to Joe, y'all sadly motherfucking mistaken. Just because he's on the #1 radio show that look like it's fitting to break up, because soon as, and you know it's funny, see, Joe Buttons and them talk about a lot of shit on they show. And they talked about the Breakfast Club breaking up after they little thrift when Charlamagne the God interviewed Gucci Mane. After he had already said what he had said about Angela Yee. You understand what I'm saying? See, Charlamagne is underhanded and cutthroat. Because a lot of people felt like he shouldn't have interviewed Angela. He shouldn't have interviewed Gucci Mane. And when he did interview Gucci Mane, he let Gucci Mane say all this shit about Angela Yee. And they had a whole big thing. So it all goes back to that. So if y'all sitting up here thinking that Charlamagne the God ain't got no reason to be jealous of Joe Buttons, y'all sadly fucking mistaken. Joe Budden's been doing this podcasting YouTube thing for a long motherfucking time. To the point where it's a swag when you do podcasting. It's a method to it. It's rules and levels to it. And let me tell you something. Joe Budden podcast set the bar so motherfucking high. He got people coming for him now. And I believe on some low-key shit, they've been coming for him. So with Tahiri putting out, how did we think about it? How did we go from Vado choking Harry on Marriage Boot Camp to Tahiri going up on Hollywood Unlocked talking about Joe Buttons? How did we get there? And then the next thing you know, Spotify. He got the thing with Spotify. All of this is happening all at the same motherfucking time, and y'all think everything in life is a motherfucking coincidence? Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. My name is Eve the Weave. Please like, share, and subscribe, because I don't know what y'all think. But if y'all not thinking the way I'm thinking, now it's time to start pulling up old clips, because if we're going to start pulling up old clips and talking about shit that happened 5 years ago, let's talk about it, because this podcast that I'm looking at now is only from 3 years ago. And if I can go back only 3 years and see bullshit, and y'all acting like in the world that y'all can't see the bullshit, Y'all better go backwards and look at some of these podcasters. Go look at Brilliant Geniuses and how they like to try to throw shots. Last night was ridiculous. Charlamagne, how you call Joe Budden's your friend and you sitting next to a fucking white man trying to bring down another black man? And this is Charlamagne. And this is the bullshit that he be on. I'm sorry. Y'all can say whatever the fuck it is that y'all want. Let me tell y'all something. This all boils down to Joe Budden's putting Charlamagne the God in his motherfucking place a couple of episodes ago when he felt like Charlamagne didn't know what the fuck he was talking about on the Breakfast Club as far as his contract with Spotify. Okay, the crazy shit is Dame Dash went right on the Breakfast Club and tried to tell them about ownership and owning your own business and the glory from that. And neither DJ Envy or Charlamagne the God caught that. They didn't catch that. That whole shit went right over their fucking head. The crazy shit is, when Dame Dash was up there on the Breakfast Club trying to break down ownership and how they can't do certain things and how it's better to be an owner of your own brand and have ownership of it 100%, Joe Budden talked about that. And Joe Budden understood where Dame Dash was coming from. So when people sit up there and say, oh, I'm not mad that he said that on his podcast, yeah, you are. You feeling some type of way. Some type of way it's being felt, because the way you are talking about Joe Budden on your podcast now, and the way you are sitting up there talking about Joe Budden on your Breakfast Club is to draw attention. You want that attention. You want people to say, oh, let me see what Charlamagne the God is going to say. Brilliant Geniuses with Charlamagne the God never came up on my motherfucking timeline on YouTube. Never in the history of never. Never came up on my timeline. Now all of a sudden, because I'm watching Joe Budden podcast, and this is how petty the internet is. Because I stay watching Joe Budden podcast, and that shit never came up. But because now everybody is talking about the whole Joe Budden, Charlamagne the God beef, because there is a beef. There is a beef. There's been a beef on some low-key shit. And I'm looking at this episode, and this episode is 2 hours, 42 minutes long. Joe Budden podcast is around that time. They never really, they like go over 3, they never really go over 3 hours. I can clean and cook and listen to Joe Budden podcast. That's the thing I love about Joe Budden's. But to see the visual and the faces and the body language and the exchange of words at the same time, yeah, I'm with it. Because now it puts a lot of things into perspective. As far as academics coming out and trying to get on Rory and Mal. You understand what I'm saying? Him coming after Rory and Mal now makes more sense to me, because stupid ass Charlamagne the God just got up here on this episode of 113 and just said, oh yeah, because I mentored DJ Academics. I knew DJ Academics before all of y'all, X, Y, and Z. So now, when Academics comes for Rory and Mal, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? It makes perfect sense. All of it makes perfect sense. And if y'all think some of these people don't want to be in that same lane with Joe Budden's, y'all are sadly mistaken. And I do believe that Charlamagne the God is going to have everybody over there at iHeart, and I'm just going to wait and sit back and wait for somebody out of that contract to say something. Because just so hilarious, her podcast is up there. He got a whole bunch of people podcasters up there. And I believe he sat back and he studied Joe, and he wanted to do something great when it came down to podcasting. And he took that and he ran to iHeart with it. Around the same time, Joe and the Spotify deal started fucking up. That whole iHeart deal ain't just come out of the fucking blue. That iHeart deal was going down on some low-key shit for a minute now. And for Joe Budden to come out here and start blasting Spotify and some of these big corporations like iHeart and all of them, it came at the perfect time. It was like he fell into the trap, but he didn't. You understand what I'm saying? So him coming out talking about his deal and telling y'all it's not about money, and for y'all to allude is about money is stupid. Because even if it was, what y'all trying to say? A black man is not worth that much money? If he got the #1 podcast in the world, why he can't be? Why he can't be? If Joe Rogan, whoever this guy name is, white man, is getting 100 million, why he can't sit up there and get, look, listen, he was #1 before Joe Rogan was, so why he can't get 250 mil? Even if that was the case. Because he's always came out and said Spotify deal was never about the money. He said this before, and this is how I know people do not listen. They listen to what they want to listen to, and they take little sound bites from everywhere. Joe Budden's always talked about his fucking contract with Spotify before the beef. And you know, he was always telling us about business contracts and stuff like that. So he would always use his contract as an example. Now, him and Spotify did have a good relationship up until now. So my thing is, I'm just sitting back and I'm just looking. So people say, oh, Eve, why you didn't make a video about this yet? And why you didn't make a video about that yet? Because I like to sit back and look and analyze shit. I watch Joe Budden podcast, so I've seen how many times Charlamagne has been in that circle with Joe Buttons in them. And how he was on the other show with him. Like, it's sneaky. To me, Charlamagne the God is a sneaky person. Very fucking sneaky. Very sneaky, very calculated, very let me get that nigga back tactic type shit. When Joe Buttons is up here talking about he don't got no beef with him, you on the other note, you just jabbing. Bang, 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 just jabbing. For no reason. Because why is Charlamagne coming so hard at Joe? It's funny how he can address Joe, he can talk about Joe, he can talk about all that, but he don't want to talk about, he do not want to talk about his own allegations with the whole Jessica Reed thing. He don't want to talk about that. He don't want to talk about that. But he can talk about everything underneath the fucking sun. But he don't want to talk about that. So let me just pause this video right here, because right now I'm only at 19 minutes of this one episode of the Joe Budden podcast. Because I want to watch it, because I like to sit back and break shit down. Where people think that little shit don't count, little shit do count. Even down to the way you look at somebody count. Even down to the fake ass jokes that you call jokes, but always find some truth in there somewhere down the line. And for Joe Buttons to sit up here in this podcast right here and say, I see what y'all sneaky niggas is trying to do to me. He's saying it as a joke. But if you know Joe Buttons, you know he don't sat back and thought about it. When he uses the word, because I sat back and I analyzed. When he starts saying shit like that, he's not playing with y'all. I just want to let y'all know, if y'all didn't realize, every time he say, when I sat back and I thought and I analyzed it, he's not really playing with you no more. He really did sit back. He really did think about that shit. And he really do peep game where the fuck y'all sucker ass niggas is coming from with y'all bullshit. He seen it 3 years ago and he's seeing it now. He's seeing it now. He may not come out outright and say it. I can't wait till Saturday's podcast drop. I can't wait. Because I would love to hear what Joe Buttons got to say. I listen to Joe Buttons on Saturdays. True fans, know when the shit drop. It's just crazy to me how everybody want to sit back and not realize that this man been jealous of this man for the longest. Y'all didn't realize that shit. And y'all may say, oh, he's sitting on the #1 talk show. Yeah, but he's sitting on the #1 talk show that he don't own. He's sitting on the #1 talk show that owned by somebody else. He's sitting on the #1 talk show and having his fucking co-host finger his butt. Like, come on. He made a clone of his butt. He did a wax figure of his butt and had DJ Envy fingering it for fucking clicks and fucking views. And DJ Envy's stupid ass did the dumb shit. Oh, I'm a man, I got a wife, I'm securing on my manhood, but y'all do a lot of gay shit up there. And I'm not going, it's nothing against the gays. Do not try to come for me, because I will come for you right the fuck back. Don't play with me. But what I'm trying to say is, they do a lot of things on that Breakfast Club shit for clicks and fucking views. Okay? Nobody was thinking about putting cameras in no fucking studio to watch no fucking Breakfast Club. Because when you put cameras in the studio, it went from a radio show to a podcast now. Y'all didn't peep game? Because a podcast can work either way. You can either have cameras. Some may call what I'm doing right now potting. And I don't mind that. You know what I'm saying? Only thing is I'm here one-on-one by myself. Last time I was in a video with my daughter, we was analyzing the whole Tamar thing. But I'm going to sit back and finish watching this. Let me put y'all on pause real quick because I'm going to keep it all the way a stack with y'all. I never really liked the Charlamagne the God. Charlamagne the God to me always, even with the dark spots on his face, Charlamagne the God always seems sneaky to me. Always seems sneaky. And if y'all think it's a joke, y'all just go back and analyze and watch old clips of shit, and then y'all see exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm still looking at 113 Joe Budden podcast with Charlamagne the God up there. They are talking about the whole L.A. Reid and Joe Budden allegations. You know, Joe Budden allegations with Esther Baxter, the singer, that he sat on her stomach allegedly. And they're talking about L.A. Reid and how he used to pay out his people. He never used to go to court. He used to just settle out of court. So this is an interesting part of the podcast, though, because it's like, this is why the internet is nasty. Let me just say that right now. The internet is so disgusting. It's disgusting. This podcast, like I said, is 113, right? Joe Budden podcast is in the 300s. It's almost in the 400s right now. It's up to like 379 or something like that. When the next one drops, it should be like 379, 380. All right. They put this back up here because it talks about that whole stomach allegation. Charlamagne the God is up here. They talking about the whole topic of the show. The title is Podcast Beef. The internet is disgusting. I feel like everybody should go and look at this episode of 113 Joe Budden podcast. Because this shit is so loaded with everything that we're talking about right now. This is from 3 years ago. And everything that we are talking about right now as far as Joe Budden's is in this one podcast. Let me finish listening because it's very interesting. I want y'all to hear exactly what I'm talking about as far as the whole allegations thing. Hold on 1 minute. Let me get the timestamp.
On whatever podcast.
Listen to this.
Compared. You've been doing so much press, so I don't know. And you don't even know I'm about to say it, so you don't know where the fuck you said it. Exactly, plug media train man. Right. So, but I heard you say that I heard you compare the L.A. Reid sex allegations, sex charge, whatever the shit is, to my domestic abuse.
Yes, I said that history. You should have more sympathy. I would think you would have more sympathy, being that you used to get so mad at me.
This is the greatest thing ever right now.
You would get so mad at me when I would bring that shit up like
true.
that. So I thought you would have more sympathy for L.A. Reid.
Do you think that those two are the same?
And then you find it awkward silence.
And I want to make sure he's finished. Do you think that those two are the same?
It depends what it is. I mean,
all right. So let me paint it.
Is LA sexual allegations like? I mean, any type of.
LA has settled out.
Okay.
Numerous occasions.
Okay.
On these allegations.
Okay.
I have not settled anything. I've gone to court and all of these charges have been dismissed and thrown away and laughed at. Wait a minute. Best-selling author, man, could this be my fucking point with you? You know better than the shit that you spew. You certainly are not comparing L.A. Reid settling out numerous times to fucking sexual assault charges to...
Hold on, sexual assault charges? Because their sexual assault charges is absolutely the same thing. Assault is assault. Whether it's domestic violence or sexual assault. Assault is a woman
I'm
assault.
saying that you can...
Charlamagne the God. Timestamp. 39:13. Charlamagne the God just said assault is assault. Now, if assault was assault, then the whole Jessica Reed thing, you should be getting ready to go downhill in any minute now. As soon as I upload this video, right? Because he just said assault is assault. This is why I say y'all need to go back and start watching shit. Because the body language, the reason why they got on this topic is because Charlamagne the guy was on the Breakfast Club and he said something and he tried to compare the whole L.A. Reid thing with the whole Joe Budden thing. Joe Buttons was saying how he was up there and he was talking about the allegations, and they're going to get into the whole thing. I'm going to finish playing it, but this shit is nasty, B. And for Charlamagne the God to even be sitting up here talking about any type of sexual assault or any type of sexual allegations is fucking bananas to me. Y'all not understanding. But let me keep playing this shit. This shit is nasty, B.
Compare the two. One gentleman continues to settle out. One just keeps getting thrown out. How do you compare the two? Wait.
He's getting sued and you're getting arrested. So yours is criminal, his is civil.
No.
And by the way, Joe,
Let me tell you how good Joe is. Don't dance that corner.
Let me tell you how good Joe is. Joe came on the Breakfast Club after he had allegations against Esther Baxter, right?
I remember.
We did Breakfast Club Court.
One of the worst interviews ever.
Esther, that was great, by the way.
It was for y'all. It was great for y'all.
Yeah, and Esther
I didn't want to be there.
Esther accused him of sitting on her stomach. So I say to Joe, did you sit on her stomach? You know what Joe says to me? No, I sat below her breasts. Jesus fucking Christ. What the fuck?
Hey, I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear. Number one, that was so not one of my best interviews. Number two, I did not want to be there. Number three, I cannot speak to my headspace then, but boy, that was poor wording. Now,
Do you think? Just because you get found not guilty,
So
doesn't mean something didn't happen.
Charlamagne, this is my
You sat on her breast.
Charlamagne, if you don't, I will not.
You see how
allow you to
Charlamagne
be on
is-
this podcast. You will not be that elusive.
But do you see how Charlamagne, let me tell y'all something. Charlamagne got this whole thing with Jessica Reed. But do you see how Charlamagne can sit up there and try to drag Joe down on his own podcast? Do you see what I'm saying? Charlamagne the God been talking about Joe Buttons for a long motherfucking time. Okay? If you think about it. Anything with mental health, well, Joe, he always got something to say about Joe Buttons. And y'all never peep that shit. Look at this episode. I'm telling y'all, this episode is crazy. The conversation is getting ready to get worse. The conversation is getting ready to get worse. Watch this.
Comparing the two, I don't care about me misspeaking on your fucking show. I'm talking about L.A. Reid continuing to pay off.
Listen,
And the court throwing something out.
I don't think that's common knowledge.
Wait, let me finish.
I don't know anything about
I'm
it.
talking about his knowledge, not common knowledge. That's number one. Number two, now, funny that you say you would think I would be a bit more empathetic toward L.A. Reid, because one of my gripes with you is you have some shit that looked like some shit, but shit happened.
What?
And what do you mean, what? You
What?
had some accused of...
Ha! Now, this is why I love Joe Budden. Joe Budden's is not going to just let Charlamagne sit up there and talk. You talking about my shit. We're talking about another man's shit. Well, why we not talking about your shit and you on my motherfucking podcast? I'm interviewing you. We should be talking about your shit. Being that this book dropped and you up here to promote your shit. Being that we talking about my fucking dirt, let's talk about your shit. You got some shit that looked like some shit that was some shit and you got out of some shit. That's exactly what the nigga just said. So how the fuck you gonna talk about us and we should be talking about you and you on my motherfucking show? I'm gonna let y'all see a little glimpse of this fucking interview real quick. So y'all can see the body language.
Oh, you mean rape? Yeah. What do you mean?
Look.
You can't just casually say that.
So now he wanna promote the book. Look, now because they brought his shit up, he wanna promote the book.
This motherfucker's crazy.
Joe, why do you you know that?
What do you mean, why do I know?
Why do you know that? Because I've said it.
Maybe you read the book.
Well, no, I'm not saying.
I'm not it from that.
No, that's not my point in mentioning it. My point in mentioning it is, anytime you've ever brought up my fucking domestic history or lack of, I'd be saying, yo, Charlamagne has dealt with women. You just know that shit happens sometimes. Not that you hit a woman.
No,
I'm talking about women being emotional, women saying something, women lying, women maneuver. Like, you a nigga at the end of the day. So I'm like, yo, he has to know that because he experienced that.
At the same time, he's saying when LA's being accused of these things and they could be false, you should be more sensitive.
I would think
because
Joe
you've been through
would.
that.
I would think
That's
Joe would.
Charlamagne, do you know that I have had conversations with women who
Well, I don't know that, Joe.
I'm telling you.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. The most shocking thing about the sexual allegations with LA was that they were with women. Because I thought that LA was gay. That's what I thought historically. That's the thing.
Now look at Charlamagne gonna come out here and call L.A. Reid gay, and everybody always calling him gay. He gonna say how shocked he was it was with women. Do y'all hear this fuck shit? Do y'all hear this fuck shit? Are y'all paying attention? Because now that I'm looking at this again, now I'm feeling a whole nother type of way. Like, I already didn't like Charlamagne. Because he's that sneaky fuck nigga that will talk about everybody else's shit, but will not talk about his shit. And that's what Joe is saying. How the fuck dare you talk about my shit on your show, and you got your own shit going on that you don't even want to talk about? All of a sudden, now we're talking about your bullshit, and you want to promote your motherfucking book, nigga. Nigga, no, nigga. Nah, nigga. We're not letting you do that up here. That shit is crazy. Shit is nasty, B. Another nigga will throw another nigga under the bus just for clicks and fucking views. The crazy shit is, Charlamagne just sat up here and just said he do shit on there for clicks and views. So when the Birdman shit came along, he was telling them to roll the cameras. He wanted that shit to be seen. He wanted Birdman to put his hands on him. He just said that he did that shit for clicks and views. He already knew what it was. Somebody called him and told him, oh, well, you know Birdman coming up here. He said for them to even tell me that Birdman is coming up there, he already knew it was some fuck shit. So he told Baroque and all of them to roll their cameras, keep the cameras rolling no matter what he do. Because he want to get that click and that view. That's crazy. He just said he ain't said that shit. This episode is nasty, B. Let's get right back to the shit because there's some more shit that I want y'all to listen to. Right now we are at the 42 and 36 second minute mark on this podcast. Crazy.
You love somebody.
Hey, now, and this is my only tasteful moment that I'll have here. But hey, Antonio Reid, baby, baby. That closet been open, man. Just come on out, man.
Oh, man.
Antonio Reid, no, God, good damn.
All right, whatever. I thought that's what it always was. So honestly, when Joe was wilding on LA, I thought it was two things. Either he's mad LA dropped him, or LA tried him. Because I heard we've heard those stories. I've heard
LA tried him is crazy.
You know, I've heard those stories. LA will walk in with the silk robe on.
So that you're
Come on, man. What the fuck? Come on, man.
So that your too wordy conversation really was underlying.
I don't know. I was just trying to
So LA was really telling me to just not say no words.
I think so.
More do that.
I was trying to figure out why Joe was so upset. And those are two different conversations. If LA is accused of sexual allegations and he's guilty of that shit, he's a piece of shit. And yes, he shouldn't be in the music industry manipulating his power, period. But
So you do feel like that.
But that's not why you said he shouldn't be in the
Time
music
out.
industry.
But this is a new point now. So
Okay.
you do feel like that.
Absolutely.
When the fuck have you ever said that?
What do you mean?
I've never heard you say that.
Joe,
and that gets to my beef on your platform.
I tweeted you last week and I said,
I ain't talking about some fucking characters.
No, listen. Joe said something to me about LA last week, and I tweeted. I said, Joe, you don't even know my position on LA sexual allegations. You never asked me. Like the music thing is one thing. Sexual allegations is a whole other thing.
Why do your tweets count and not mine, though?
Then I'm talking to him.
I'm fucking with you.
And I told him, well, he said he can't wait till Tuesday.
But that's my beef about your platform too.
Okay.
because you can discuss some of this shit.
Basically, Joe Buttons is saying is, my beef with Charlamagne is, you got a whole platform and you choose to speak on my fuck shit, but you never really tell how you really feel. You want to get on my platform because you feel like, I don't know if he feel like Joe Button platform don't got no reach or whatever. But why you all of a sudden want to get on my platform and really tell how you feel? Why you don't never get on the Breakfast Club on your platform that you do Monday through Friday and tell how you really feel about some of the shit? Why you not keeping it all the way real? Because that, to be real, that's not keeping it all the way real. You can't do this way on this platform, and because you feel like my shit don't have no reach, people are going to hear it, like me. This is not my first time hearing this interview. Like I said, I watch Joe Buttons all the time. But when it came up on my timeline again, I said, I got to look at this interview again. Because now I'm looking at everything in a brand new light. Because I already knew I always thought he was after Joe Button's spot. I always felt like he was a little hater on the low when it came to Joe Buttons. Because like he said out his own mouth, Joe Buttons is a fuck up. Joe Buttons is going to fuck up this and going to fuck up, he likes to fuck up deals. That's what he said out his own mouth about Joe. I always thought that before he even spilled that shit, because the little undercover shit that he used to do, like shit like this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Shit like this. Charlamagne God think that nobody don't know the little sneaky shit that he do. He takes little jabs and think that nobody don't notice it. People notice the shade, nigga.
There aren't too many polarizing people here.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said on your podcast. There's room for everybody.
Absolutely. More than enough room for everybody.
However,
I disagree.
That's not Rory. Stop it. You're absolutely right. And you should be the only white boy on podcast.
Well, my next point though,
divide and conquer us.
When has there ever been an everybody?
Now, it's always been that way, Joe.
Slow down. All right, so let me ask you: do you view High 97 as competition?
No, I don't view anybody as competition. I feel like the only competition I have is me.
Stop it. Wait a minute.
Serious.
Oh no. Okay, I get that, fucking author, man. Would you stop authoring me?
Basically,
say author shit, man.
I'm gonna really tell you.
Basically, Joe Buttons is saying, don't bullshit me, my nigga. You know they competition. That's why y'all go so hard. You sticking fingers. Y'all over there sticking fingers in rubber butts over there trying to get clicks and views. You just sat here on my show and say y'all do shit for clicks and views. And you gonna try to tell me you don't see them as competition, my nigga? You see them as competition because why you go out y'all way to be sticking fingers in rubber butts over there? Like, who the fuck y'all think y'all playing with? Cut the shit, Charlamagne. You see Ebro and them as competition. And I'm going to keep it all the way a stat. I fucks with Ebro and them because Ebro and them have real conversations. They have mayors up. They have real people up there. They don't just have just stars. To me, the Breakfast Club, when they do antics like that whole envy shit with the whole rubber butt, that shit was, I wasn't feeling it. Like, what are you doing? It looked like it was for clicks and views. But let's just see where this goes.
Tell you my mindset.
It's in the book. It's
I'm
in the
gonna
book.
I'm gonna really tell you my mindset, and I got this from Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. If you're considered the best, who else do you got to be better than other than yourself?
That is true.
So it's like I'm not like what is competition? It's people that inspire me, but they don't. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, there was a period where you addressed them frequently.
I addressed two people.
I only even take notice of it because it was one of the very few times that I've ever heard a personality on one station speak by name a personality on another station on a compete.
Funkmaster Flex and Mr. C. First of all, there's no radio personality who was gonna let that Mr. C shit slide. Right? He was a serial purchaser of penis. He got caught 3 different times, bro. Like how you
I don't know how he could do.
Like I said, y'all have to go watch this episode. This episode is loaded with a whole bunch of shit that's about to all get dreaded back up because now people are digging up old shit. Now, L.A. Reid, your ass is fitting to be back on the chopping block because once I fucking put this video out and people listen to it, other people is going to share it, other people are going to like it, other people are going to start talking about it. And people are going to go look at this episode and they're going to be like, oh shit, let me do, yeah. other people are going to take and do their own content from this. Love it. But this episode here is crazy. It's bananas. Let me tell y'all something. Joe's smart. We up to an hour, 10 minutes, and 37 seconds into it. And they're talking about the Revolt pop, Revolt, which is underneath Puff Daddy. He runs Revolt TV over there at Time Warner. I don't have Time Warner. I have Cablevision, so I don't have Revolt TV. I only watch Revolt TV through YouTube. So that's how I get to watch, the other show that Joe Buttons is on with Remy Ma and all them, because that's on Revolt TV, but it also comes on YouTube. Revolt TV has a YouTube channel. Well, that the Breakfast Club, they shows come on Revolt TV, and Charlamagne is talking about how Puffy doesn't promote. He feel like Puffy doesn't promote Revolt TV as much and X, Y, and Z. But Charlamagne has to realize Puffy don't really have to say nothing about Revolt TV. Everybody knows that Revolt TV is attached to Puffy, to Diddy. So he don't have to say nothing. You don't hear Jay-Z shouting out Tidal in every fucking song. Like, is there certain things that certain people just don't have to do? Revolt TV is under a big prescription. Time Warner is a big television cable organization. He don't have to promote it. And then on top of that, it's on YouTube. Now, this podcast, we talking about this 113 of the Joe Button podcast, is right before Joe Buttons got his deal with Puffy to go do that other show with Remy Ma and them, State of the Culture. Because State of the Culture is underneath Revolt. Now, Joe Button said just a few minutes ago, he said, I really don't want to talk about Revolt, because I got some things stewing up. This is why Joe Buttons asked Charlamagne how he feel about Revolt TV, because he wanted to know how he felt, because he got some things brewing up over there. He didn't never tell nobody what he had brewing, but he said he got some things brewing. And that's how you see how things come into intuition right now today, because now he already got that show with Remy Ma, State of the Culture. It popped off. I love State of the Culture. They talk about a lot of shit, and they just start getting guests like, you know what I'm saying? So I like State of the Culture. But they talk, like I said, this episode of the Joe Budden podcast, they talk about a lot of shit that we're talking about today. And I just found it funny how Joe Buttons, he did the same thing with Spotify deal. He wanted to know what was going on over there, how they operate, how they function. And he went over there to learn just that. And y'all not getting it. He just asked Charlamagne, how is it over there being with Revolt? That's him picking his brain about Revolt, so he can know how to move when he get over there. Not saying he gonna take Charlamagne advice about Revolt, but he want to hear how he feel about it. You understand what I'm saying? Not realizing Joe Buttons is about to be over there a couple of years, and now he's there. Ain't that a coinky ding? Joe Buttons is very smart. You know what's funny? Because in the YouTube world, if you listen to some of the bloggers, they feel like the rappers are trying to take their positions when it comes to interviews and all that stuff. And it's funny because Joe Buttons just said, because Charlamagne the God just mentioned that him and Nori got a couple of things lined up or whatever, and he's producing a lot of things for Nori on that side, and it's not Revolt or whatever, because y'all know Drink Champs is underneath Revolt TV too, or whatever. So Joe Buttons sees what is going on. He pays fucking attention. He just said, I see how y'all niggas is doing. What y'all niggas is over there doing? Y'all coming over here trying to take all the rapper journalism positions. He see what they doing. He see that they are trying to move in on his market. Joe Budden been doing this shit for a long motherfucking time, like I said. For Joe Budden to even make that statement, he sees what y'all niggas is doing. He been peep game. He been on it. This episode is from 3 years ago. He's been on y'all. He's been on y'all asses. And y'all can't, it's like y'all gotta find a way to take him down. It's crazy how he just made that statement though. Let me tell y'all something. I'm at an hour and 37 minutes and 35 seconds. They're talking about Tahiri. They're not talking about the updated stuff. Remember, if you're listening now, this podcast that I'm looking at from the Joe Buttons podcast is from 113, and this is 3 years ago. He says to Joe Buttons, yo, I was just speaking to Tahiri on the phone. Tahiri got a good idea for a show. Then Joe Buttons says, Charlamagne the God, why you ain't give Tahiri Donkey of the Day when she got locked up in her own house? He looked at Joe Buttons and gonna say, oh, I didn't hear about it. Everybody talked about it. You the only one that didn't want to give Tahiri, your friend, Donkey of the Day when she got locked up in her own house. So you know Joe, he got up and ran out the studio with his stupid ass because he already knows Charlamagne is fucking lying. Everybody was talking about that shit. The story went allegedly. Tahiri got locked up in her own house because she beat up her roommate. That was the story. And it was on her birthday. And that's why it was like Donkey of the Day. How you gonna get locked up in your own house on your birthday? So Charlamagne gonna say, oh, so what's the donkey about it? Maybe that's why I didn't give her Donkey of the Day. So Rory and Mal is like, come on. She got arrested in her own house on her birthday for beating up her roommate, and you don't think she deserved Donkey of the Day? Which is true, she did deserve Donkey of the Day. But being that they friends, of course he didn't give her Donkey of the Day. Crazy. So I'm almost finished this podcast of the Joe Budden podcast, episode 113. And it was an enlightening episode for me. I just wanted to review it because it came up on my timeline and I found it funny with everything going on with Joe Buttons. The internet is gonna pull up everything. They're gonna drag up everything. And it's just crazy to me. But y'all need to go watch this episode of 113. 113, the Joe Budden podcast, is very interesting. I gotta go because I know there's gonna be some more that I gotta talk about, because I do want to talk about the whole Tahiri thing with the whole Vital thing. I didn't talk about it because I already knew it was gonna be some more bullshit to follow behind it, because this is Tahiri, and I didn't understand the whole Vital thing when she was sitting up there throwing apples at him any goddamn way. It seemed like everybody took Tahiri's side, and I didn't understand it. Like, it was like nobody watched the episode. But anyway, I'll get into that on another episode, another episode on my channel. But right now, we're gonna talk about this, the Joe Buttons podcast, that episode 113. I feel like I like people to go watch it and see what they gotta say about it, because it was very interesting to me about the whole podcast. So maybe y'all should go look at it and y'all assess it for yourselves. My name is Eve the Weave. Like, share, and subscribe. 2020 is definitely the year that things are just going to come back and bite people in the asses. I do believe that. My name is Eve the Weave. Like, share, and subscribe. I got to go, YouTube. Later.